Thank you for joining the Friday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Ayodele Ozubakum. Today on the program, Nigeria military declares IPOB a militant terrorist organization. Customs intercept illegal weapons linked to Turkey. And later on the program, Al-Hassan makes U-turn, apologizes for comments on Buhari. I'll be hanging out with Emeka Madunagu, Sam Ibemere, and Wale Adedayo. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Many thanks for joining us once again. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, might have begun what he thought was a separationist movement, but the movement has become a monster that is billowing the pieces of the southeast region in the wind. Now, between last Sunday and now, there has been a wave of violence in some states. Now, some have been brutally killed, public properties have been vandalized, but as the horror story gets even scarier, there are more conflicting signals from the governments. Governor Okezekwe-Azu of Abia State says the federal government has withdrawn troops from the states, but the army says Operation Python Dance is still in full force. In fact, it will start tomorrow. This afternoon, the Defense Headquarters declared IPOB a militant terrorist organization. But let's pause for a second to help you make sense of this. Is it Nigeria playing into Kanu's hands? Is this not the role that Kanu expects Nigeria to play in his warped reality TV series? Where are the leaders of thoughts in the Southeast? I have, gentlemen, I think this is about the third time this week that we're going to be dealing with this particular issue. And when you look, first of all, let me just take reaction. Before the defense headquarters, before the Nigerian defense the Nigerian government can declare IPOB a terrorist organization, what and what is on ground to indicate? Because the little I know, is that it's a non-violent movement. I've seen their pictures, I've seen them in thousands, I've seen them in gatherings, but I've not seen them with guns. I've not seen them with any, weapons, and I've not seen them going out of hand. The only thing I've seen is that most of their rallies and everything, the military will sometimes and police will sometimes descend on them. And what is the meaning of this?
No, I think the first thing you need to look at is that initially, because I had the same belief like yours too, that the IPOB, a peaceful organization, I call them a self-determination group, not the way the military has described them now. But the reality is that once loss of lives is involved, and it involves officials of state, those in charge of security, you kill a policeman, or you kill a soldier, or you kill those sent out to enforce peace or to make peace, then the meaning or the name, the identification of the organization will change somewhere along the line. Because it's not just a question of advocating advocating the use of violence to achieve what you think you want to achieve. Once violence is deployed at any point by the organization, that organization becomes a militant organization. They might have more information at their disposal beyond what has been going on there. But I think that definition is left to them. The little I know is that as much as possible, self-determination organizations are all over the world. It's not only limited to the Southeast. We have them in Yoruba land here too. But the fact is, once you...
for a long time, I've known a group in Yoruba land here. They call them Coalition of Odua Self-Determination Group, COSEG. And they've been on and,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So once you don't go out and kill soldiers, go out and kill policemen, you are, to me, in my own definition, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how they came about that. But like I've said, the reality is that once you start killing law enforcement agents or other security people, then that means you are set to test strength with those who are in charge of official force, your own force with that of the force of the state, and end of story. So once it comes to that, since you are not a legitimate organization, you understand what I mean? It's only those who are not legitimate organizations that attack terrorists. If it's a legitimate organization operating in an independent state, then you are not a terrorist. But you are within Nigeria, you are taking up arms against the armed forces of the Federal Republic or the Nigeria Police Force or the Department of State Security, then, I mean, as a group, then the group is a terrorist organization, no doubt about that.
Sam, I asked this question on Wednesday that if you're to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have a situation like, you know, Nnamdi Kanu, what has been happening, how best can you deal with it? And you've sworn to an oath to, you know, protect the territory, to protect lives and properties, and you have, you know, because for some time I discovered that the federal government, you know, they were at crossroads. They were very, very circumspect. They didn't know the best way to approach this. So they left that young man. So while he was gaining crowd, gaining popularity and everything, the federal government kept, you know, calm. So it took months before we got here. So how will you address the situation if you were to be the president of Nigeria?
That's a very tough question, but I would attempt an answer. First, as a government or as a leader of a government, my immediate reaction to development of this sort would be to be sober and calm, would be to be consultative in my approach to it. What I will do will not be to do exactly what has been done at the moment. Taking a look at the insurrection, as it were, some have defined it as such, that is going on in the Southeast. My immediate position will be to say that working with the team to find out if indeed the indigenous people of Biafra movement led by Nnamdi Kanu is operating within the ambits of the law to start with. I think that's going to be a very critical question to answer. I will seek advice from those who know best. And I believe that Mr. President has a team that he can rely on in terms of defining if indeed the movement that is being talked about is operating within the ambits of the law. Now, taking Kanu, taking the issue of Kanu, we would recall that Kanu's case is before the courts, and I think that that was an appropriate thing to do. If you feel that the law is being breached, as in the case of Kanu, you go to court. The government did the right thing by going to court.
Don't forget that
as the president, I'll go to court.
Was even going on.
Yes, I'll get to that.
There was a lot of pressure.
Yes.
On the government that leave this man for peace to reign. If you remember.
As Mr. President, I will insist in testing our institutions. He has done the right thing by going to courts. As the president, I will allow the full course of the judicial process to take place. I will not be in a hurry to do what is perceived to be an initiative on the part of the federal government, as has been declared by the Nigerian military. I wouldn't do that. What the government has done, in my thinking, is that it has betrayed its motive especially as it concerns the exercise that is going on at the moment. You had a case that was in court. Allow the courts to fully determine if the man has breached the law. Agreed that there were terms or there are conditions for his bail. And the much that we know is that the federal government, through the Office of the Attorney General, has taken the case of Kanu's breach of the bail conditions to court. So wait till October and ascertain if the courts will rule that Kanu indeed deserves to be behind bars. So as Mr. President, I would insist on allowing our institutions to be built, to be tested, because that is what every society that intends to build its future on sustainability.
Let me allow Emeka to make his opening remark on this now, and you want to look at it and what's been happening in the last 48 hours, and a lot of falsehood out there, a lot of propaganda on both sides, especially when it comes to true representation of what is actually, you know, the figure of the number of people, you know, that have been, the casualties that we have, nobody can really ascertain. And this is just Southeast here, but they seem to thrive in propaganda.
No, I don't understand. Who seems to thrive?
The information, both sides.
No, for me.
While the military, they are denying that, look, we don't have this number of casualties, but you know, you discovered that 9 people were killed in Nnamdi Kanu's house, or another newspaper said 14 people have been killed, or you know.
Yeah, the thing is that, you see, from reports in different parts of Umuahia and Aba, people have said that people were shot, people were killed. There was a video, you know, of what happened at the military checkpoint near a university. I've forgotten the name of the university. It's a known checkpoint. The fact that people were brought down from vehicles and youths and stripped to their underpants and forced to jump into a pond and to drink muddy water. The army has not denied it. They have not said that it's not true. And in that video, there were some dead bodies. So when you talk about propaganda, well, in a conflict situation, you know, you can, you know, there are bound to be claims left and right. But what this calls for, like my colleague said, is soberness. Because, you see, you cannot foist a fait accompli on the court. The court has said that IPOB is not an unlawful organization. And then the defense headquarters is coming out to say it's an unlawful organization. So where does that put the law?
I put the same question to you.
Where does that put the law?
If you were to be Mr. President, will you fold your hands?
I will refer you back. It's not about folding hands.
And a group that has been threatening the peace?
Look, Mr. President he knew when he made that statement at Chatham House that he will cater to 97% versus the 5%. He ought to have known that that statement he ought to have known the gravity of that statement. And don't forget, this is a region that over the years has nursed feelings of exclusion, that they are excluded.
We are all excluded in Nigeria.
No, sorry, no.
As in, everybody is marginalized.
Yeah, fine. This is a region that lost. Sorry, I am
not. Of course.
Now, this is a region. This is a region that lost.
We are talking about the issue of 95%. We are talking about IPOB now.
I'm trying to hold on. Now, this is a region that lost.
Gentlemen,
can you let me make my point?
All right.
This is a region that has no feelings of marginalization and exclusion. And you now came in and put fuel on the fire that you will cater for 97% versus 5%. Hold on, let me make my point. Cool down. And then now, there was this Al Jazeera interview where the lady asked the president, that, okay, why not reach out to these people? Because they feel disaffected. They feel that they've been left out by the leaders they have in the region. They feel they've been left out by the government. And he said, he will not dialogue with them.
What happened under Jonathan administration? They had the best of the best, SSG. They had
It's not about individuals. It's not. You see, we keep getting this thing wrong. It's not about individuals. The fact that you take Mr. A or Mr. B as whatever minister or whatever, that is not what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is that when you violate federal character, in your appointment, you violate federal character, in your allocation of resources, allocation of projects, allocation of so many things, and then you now leave differential cut-off mark. You leave a lot of discrimination against a particular region. How do you want the people to react? And then you now come and say that, you know, you can first invite a company of the court. He was talking about, what I did was talking about when you measure strength with the police. And I now ask, how many police stations did OPC bomb? How many policemen died when there was crisis in Lagos concerning OPC? Were they declared a terrorist organization? Yep. What about the Fulani herdsmen that have been declared as the fourth deadliest a group in the world? Who has declared them a terrorist organization? Some days ago, they still killed people in Benue.
All right.
So what are we talking about?
Emeka, calm down. Emeka, calm down.
What are we talking about?
Let's just face
we're on the round table here now.
Reality. And let's just face some reality here. He just mentioned something there, and that's why I said the Viet, of course. If what Obasanjo did to OPC in his first term, if Buhari had wait, let me finish. If Buhari should do 5% of that to IPOB, I'm very sure the whole thing will disappear within 24 hours.
So why has OPC not disappeared?
I didn't interfere when you were talking. You did.
Calm down. Listen, we don't need to put emotions into this thing. Let's make our points.
Do you know how many OPC members were killed? I was just telling you before the program started. You have an incision on your body as a Yoruba. An average Yoruba would normally have an incision. You have an incision on your body, 99, 2000, the police will pick you up the next day, they will find your dead body somewhere. I was involved, you know. I'm Yoruba, proudly so. If that had happened in the East, I'm telling you said OPC still did what? After all those things started, what happened? The whole thing calmed down now. No, look at Odina, look at Zakibia. That's what I'm telling you.
But why did OPC disappear? Why did OPC disappear? Answer the question.
The thing is, those activities will limit all those things. The question you ask him, let me just go straight to that question. If I were Buhari as president and Kanu started like that, the way Kanu, what happened to Kanu and he got lionized was this question of charging him to court. I won't charge Kanu to court, for God's sake.
Why wouldn't you charge Kanu to court?
Why wouldn't you charge him?
Listen, don't you want to build institutions?
Let me ask the question here, gentlemen.
I won't charge Kanu to court. You understand? I'll leave him. See, in Nigeria, to me, I always tell colleagues, Nigeria is a young democracy. There's so many things we have not learned at all. Let's go back to Boko Haram. For God's sake, Boko Haram was not a militant organization when it started. But something happened along the line. Some politicians were using them, and they felt shortchanged. They have the numbers, and they were going to go to another party. And the governor in charge, and Alimoto Sheriff, started picking their members, killing them extrajudicially, detaining them, and so on. They shouted, they cried, and so on, just like the Shiites are shouting now, and nobody's saying anything, nobody's listening. Of course, they resort to, self-help. You understand? It was not the police who arrested the Boko Haram leader then. It was the army now. The army arrested the guy, and a few of his lieutenants handed them over to the police. What happened? The police lined them up.
What would you have done differently if we were to be?
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to. The police lined them up and cleared out all of them. In any organization, there are always extremist elements on the fringes. The majority will always want to have their way, but the extremist elements want to control. Immediately, Yusuf was taken out. The extremist element took over the organization. But what they should have done at that time is, especially when shouts of extrajudicial killings were loud in Borno State, the government should have intervened. Why are these guys being killed like this? In the case of Kanu, let's just go back there now. In the case of Kanu, for me, I told you, if I'm in government, it might look one kind, but for God's sake, you look at America, that's what they do. You look at the UK, that's what they do. Until they bring out arms. That is when you don't face them frontally. If you are not bringing out arms, for God's sake, government have all the resources, everything you need to tackle this kind of thing. What is the big deal in infiltrating an organization like IPOB? I will split it, create another faction there. Is it that all Igbos are following IPOB? Not all Igbos are members of IPOB now. The guy will be in fact in Kanu's village. I will create another organization, parallel organization. It is when they start fighting themselves, then we send police, we send soldiers, and so on. You understand? There are some people who will be supporting under the table. The guy is not working now. Where is he getting all the money from? There will be some supply lines.
What about the issues?
The same thing. That's the way you tackle it.
You are turning it to a Kanu thing. What about the issues?
No, because this has to do with
another
IPOB now.
thing.
Hey, what about the issues?
Listen,
I think you should
talk
go to
about
the
the issue is another
Have you
thing.
forgotten? Have you
You talk about
forgotten?
extremist
Wait,
elements.
Kanu did not start this issue now. It started here
I think
now.
you have
Okay,
valid-
let's Sam.
yeah.
Okay, let Sam make his own.
Okay. I think that we need to redirect this conversation.
Yes.
We started off with a breaking news that the Nigerian government, through its armed forces, had declared
IPOB.
IPOB
IPOB.
a militant
militant
terrorist
terrorist
organization. And then we were at the point of defining what a
is a
terrorist
militant-
We did define it.
militant
You understand? No,
terrorism?
he did.
He did. We
He
didn't.
did. We were not asked to define
Define
it.
it.
He did.
But there's a
Do you
global
understand?
definition. It's not an
You
individual
could take
definition.
this from different perspectives, but I think that we need to return to the cause, which is if any of us here were to be in Buhari's shoes, how best would we have determined or followed this matter? And he thinks differently, because I don't recall him talking about building enduring institutions.
Yeah.
You're looking at infiltration. You're looking at divide and rule. And then I think that when you do that, you are allowing an issue to fester. You are not looking for long-lasting solutions to it. I use the word, I use the word building. Yes, I use the word building a sustainable society.
Yes.
If you want to make your mark, if you want to be relevant in tomorrow's world, you have to be concerned about building sustainable institutions. And the only way to do that is to ensure, under the kind of system of government that we run, a democracy, you ensure that the principles are followed to the latter. Those principles talk about separation of power and the rest of them. Okay? As Mr. President, you want to be sure that a group that is alleged, okay, to want to create separation within the country is making its agitations within the ambits of the law. Now, if you're concerned about institutions, you want to be sure that these things are tested. You want to be patient. You want to see things through. Sorry, I'm taking us back. But what the government has done, and I'm holding the president solely responsible for this, is to betray the motive of what is going on at the moment in the name of Operation Python Dance.
See,
Let me land. Let me land.
Go to what happened to
Let me
Black
land.
Panthers
Let me
movement
land.
in the US.
Let me land.
Is it still in existence
No,
now?
let me land.
They didn't fail through the courts.
It's betrayed its motive. Sadly, on a day that the military declared IPOB a militant terrorist organization, the president is here, he's traveled out. Do you understand? I have no problems with that. But I think it's sensitive because the security. No, he should.
Okay.
He should.
And I
but
believe
I
that
think
issue,
that
the issue is going to come up there.
Yeah, because it's
And it
very
will be
important.
very
Now, when you're talking,
interesting.
sorry, Ayo, when you're talking about terrorism, who indeed, in this present situation, can be said to have embarked on an act of terrorism? Is it not the military that is abusing its citizens, whether they are Igbos or whatever you decide to call it? I think that the military is the one that has embarked on the terrorist act as far as the case of the Southeast is concerned.
We are fast running out of time. Emeka, Nigeria as a Nigerian government, do you think they have made a kind of hero out of Nnamdi Kanu? Because the way it was handled and
it has.
the large followership, right now, it's becoming something that even the funding, we don't know how it gets its
That's
money.
what I'm talking about. You
Do you
cut
think
that off
the
zero.
government-
Let me
Organization
tell
will
you,
drown.
let's face facts. Nigeria, as it stands today, is seriously divided. And it's very unfortunate. I'll tell you what, in 1999, Dr. Alex Ekweme, when he was being interviewed, concerning his presidential ambition, he said the first ministry he will create will be the Ministry of Integration. That Nigerians need to be integrated, that you need to have a country where the citizens believe they are all partners in progress before you start talking of, doing any other thing. Now, for me, the government has focused so much on Nnamdi Kanu, and they made him, you know, into somebody who they feel they should face. And I've been talking about issues. He's been talking about institutions, you know. And then you are putting attention on Nnamdi Kanu, and then you are ignoring the issues. People have been talking of dialogue, talking of restructuring. You now denied it. Your party came out, the APC came out and said, it never said anything about restructuring. Now, when this thing began to gain momentum, then everybody is now talking about restructuring. Even the North, some days ago, Northern governors and traditional rulers said, okay, they are ready to put everything on the table, let's discuss. Now, why don't we follow that process through? What is the hurry? What is the desperation? What is the desperation?
Who is desperate
now,
here?
The government. The government is desperate. It's desperate. It is desperate to do what it has in mind. It has his agenda in the Southeast. He has an agenda in the Southeast. You can see the way it's going about it. Trying to foist a fight accordingly on the court to force the court.
Which government will allow that?
Excuse me. But you're only hanging on what was said. We are armed with these people.
Saying Nnamdi Kanu is saying that Nigeria is a zoo, that they want out. They're not talking about restructuring.
Fine.
They want out outrightly.
Fine. He talked about extremist elements. Look, in every society, we cannot sleep facing the same way. You will have conservatives, you have moderates, you have extremists. But the thing is this, dialogue must be a continuous process.
Yes.
So that we can achieve
dialogue.
Yeah, that's what
the
I'm talking
APC
about.
Came out
but did you reach out
saying that
after denying?
No, they set up a committee.
After denying, the same committee APC set up that he called the structural committee, now changed it to
legitimate representatives of the people. IPOB does not represent anybody in this. IPOB is not known to the Nigerian Constitution as one of those people that will even dialogue if there's going to be anything.
Is OPC known to the Nigerian Constitution?
Listen, APC will not even be there when they are dialogue.
Okay, what about COSEC and all those other groups?
They are not going to be there. The people
who told you that? What are you talking
about? The people who will be listen now. Afenifere is not even there. Listen, Afenifere is not even there. Go through the Constitution, you won't see the name of Afenifere. You won't see OPC. You won't see all those things. The people that will be there, the member of the House of Assembly of the state, the House of Reps, and the Senate. Those are the people that will change the constitution.
So what extent?
All those constitutional consents, all the constitutional conferences you are talking about, what has it changed in the constitution? Zero.
Because the president,
listen, it has nothing to do with the president did not even allow. For God's sake. Listen, you want to change a process. To what extent have you been able to engage your National Assembly members? To what extent have you been able to engage your
National Assembly?
The
same National Assembly that the same National Assembly.
If you don't recognize them, for God's sake, then you should not be talking about change. Those are the only people. Those are the only people that the Constitution recognizes.
I want everybody to just take it easy.
You don't recognize them. You are saying which National Assembly member?
No, I'm not saying they don't exist.
Listen,
but the disaffection among the people.
You are not addressing the issue. Listen, the thing is, you are talking about change. You are talking about you want to change this, you want to change that, whatever. To me, you are just blowing hot air, all of you. The thing is, you really want to make a change. For God's sake, who are the people in your House of Assembly? If you were asking from the point of government, if I'm a government, if I'm a member of IPOD, or if I'm one of their strategists or people who think for them, you say you're not going to participate in the Anambra election, you are thinking stupidly. What stops you? If you have the population, if you have the popularity, for God's sake, envelope a party. Bring out people who believe in your ideas. Populate the House of Assembly of Anambra State, or produce a governor. Push a governor there who push your agenda. Listen, if it is too short for now, you have senators in the Southeast. You have House of Reps members in the Southeast. Instead of burning police stations, burning barracks, and so on, facing them, why don't you go to the hometowns? Listen now. I'm just citing an example. Relax, for God's sake.
But we cannot be pushing for. We can't be pushing.
Listen. The thing is, put pressure.
That's why I was talking about propaganda here and there.
Just propaganda.
A lot of
listen. Those people who will effect the changes are in Abuja, and you have representatives among them. To what extent have you done anything for them to speak in your language, or for them to see things the way you are saying things? Because when the chips are down, you won't even be there when the changes are being done. They can call any constitutional conference, come and say, oh yeah, everybody pass your memo and so on. It is these same people, all the things you agree on your so-called constitutional conference, you still go back to. They are the ones that will approve it. The ones that don't want to do that. If you carry them along, if they are not doing well, you go there.
Governors, how have they fared in all this?
I don't know.
In terms of, coming out, in terms of interfacing, the governor sitting down with Nnamdi Kanu, he was talking about in any house that they are meant to be, extremists.
Yes.
But the goal, we should not remove our eyes from the goal.
Of the goal, that's
the
what
goal
I'm saying.
is
Simple.
reforming Nigeria.
Disaffection.
I will address that, but I'll just go back a little. It's nice that when he talked about the National Assembly and how best we can channel our views, he is indirectly talking about institutions, and that's what excites me here. It's good to know that he shares the belief that you can get things done in a more sustainable manner through institutions.
That was even the recommendation of Mr. President when he came back.
So back to the issue of how the governors have fared. Given what I know that the governors had met with the young man at the center of this entire saga. Either twice. Yeah. I think the third meeting was aborted because the young man says, I don't feel secure. Yes, I don't feel secure anymore. Yes. Was aborted because the young man says, I don't feel secure. Yes, I don't feel secure anymore. Yes. So in terms of engagement, I think that some very good steps had been taken. And it's not just about the Southeast governors here. We also had elders. Remember the meeting with Professor Zinwabeze and a few other people you probably would consider
even with
belonging
the
to the Igbo intelligentsia. So I think that some positive steps had been taken, and that's what gives me greater concern. If Mr. President and his team were aware of these things that border around consultation, around dialogue, why this horrid step to brand this movement a militant terrorist organization, which holds the danger of driving them
underground?
That is the biggest danger.
And
remember, at this forum, we've talked about numbers.
I don't see any danger.
See, the truth is that if these guys carry out their actions the way they have threatened, they could go under. You talked about Boko Haram and how it all started. Somebody felt hurt, and he decided to fight back, and he went under. So we risk driving this organization under, rather than adopt a more conciliatory, posture towards it. Dialogue pays. The Igbo leaders, the governors, it's in clear view, have been in constant conversation with the leader, the self-acclaimed leader of IPOB. We must admit that.
Emeka, how popular in terms of cutting across, when we want to do things now, if Afenifere in Southwest now, if they are saying this is the position of the Yoruba people, a lot of people will say, well, that might not be the true representation of all the entire Yoruba people. Even Ohanese might not.
Possible.
Yes. Do you understand? Yes. So what I'm asking you is that how popular is this particular agitation? A lot of people will tell me that it's very popular with the unemployed young men in the Southeast. That how about those people that are opinion leaders, those people that can actually shape opinions, the heavyweights in the Igbo land, that they identify with the agitation of Nnamdi Kanu?
Let me answer you very clearly. In the beginning, I never supported this agitation. In the beginning.
Now you support it.
Yeah.
Now you support it.
Now let me tell you, why?
Now you support it.
No, hold on.
Yes or no? Now you support it.
So I do. Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Now let me tell you. When soldiers and policemen went and killed people in Nkpo, unarmed youths in Nkpo and in Aba, I felt, what is going on?
Okay, let me take Barrister Raymond. Barrister Raymond is calling us from Enugu. Thank you for joining us, Barrister.
Okay, thank you very much. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Barrister.
Okay, I am enjoying your conversation.
All right.
Okay.
It's hot.
Go ahead and make your contribution, Barrister.
Okay. I want to make a little point.
Okay.
Before 2 days ago, I was one of the Igbo men that are not supporting Nnamdi Kanu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
I say I'm one of the Igbo men that are not supporting Nnamdi Kanu before now. But I changed my opinion about the voting 2 days ago. I passed through Aba, to Umahi. I see what the military Nigerian government, what they are doing to Igbo men, it changed my mind immediately. Why? If Nnamdi Kanu is committing an offense, how can you visit Nnamdi Kanu on every other Igbo man? Abba stood area in Abba. Nobody, nothing was going on in that place. So what I am saying is that if what Nnamdi Kanu is doing, most of us Igbo men, we're not supporting Nnamdi Kanu at all. We're not supporting Nnamdi Kanu. But why must government show a kind of sensitivity that they hate Igbo? Igbo. If in everything Igbo man puts his hand, take for instance, if Nnamdi Kanu is agitating that he wants the sovereignty of Biafra, so simple thing to do. So simple thing to do. Why don't government go immediately? Why government go immediately to develop Southeast? Check issue of railway.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you, Raymond. Raymond called us from the. So
yeah, he echoed. You know, he has spoken my mind. Let me tell you.
It's a latter-day conversation.
Yes. And that's what is happening. A lot of people, and it's not just Igbos. You may think it's just Igbos. It's not just only Igbos. I'll tell you. Let me tell you why I said the National Assembly is that if there's this issue of disaffection, Nigerians generally are not happy with the state of affairs in this country. Don't forget, recently, the past few weeks, some people even marched to the National Assembly and said National Assembly should be collapsed into one chamber, that they are not meeting the aspirations of the people. What I'm trying to tell you is this. You see, when the president was saying that the only two institutions through which you can channel your grievance are National Assembly and National Council of State, what are we talking about? If people, if they had lived up to their billing, if they had performed up to expectation, would you have all these agitations? That is the question. That's the question I throw.
It depends on what you mean by performance.
Yeah. Oh, when you're talking about performance, you will not claim that here on Journalist Hangout that issues about the National Assembly, about our lawmakers, about our governors, and about their performance, about the disaffection of Nigerians with their performance have not come up. They have come up. Now, the issue is this. When there's an agitation, you understand, you don't personalize it. You deal with the issues around it. Oh. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, finally from you.
So, but I'll go back to my whole point again, that I think the IPOB got it wrong, seriously wrong. What should happen is that you are just coming on board. You should learn from what others have done before. Some of our people here in the West missed some steps then, 99, 2000. There are mistakes made. If you look at the Niger Delta, when they were coming on board, mistakes others made, they improved on it. And for me today, because like you're talking about institutions, until the institutions are changed, until those things through which you can not just channel your grievances, you can compel them to change. I was asking you a question the other time. The Deputy Senate President is from the Southeast. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you are talking about some people push at this and that. Even if he's not holding any position, to what extent have you been able? Some may not want to buy into what you want. But for God's sake, you can imagine like 10,000, 20,000 people massing to your father's house or your ancestral village. Look, you are the one holding our mandate there. We want this and this. This is what you are to table tomorrow. How do we do it when we're in the university? The people, the Congress will mandate you to go and discuss something with the authorities, and you will not. For God's sake.
And then they will call out the police and soldiers to shoot you.
Listen.
To open fire on people.
By the time that starts, by the time that starts,
by the
time that starts,
that's not about being emotional.
No government will want to send soldiers to go and deliberately
Didn't it happen in Owerri? Didn't it happen in Owerri? Didn't it happen in Owerri recently?
Even to me, that's the army, they've done their best. At some level, listen now, they've done their best in terms of propaganda, PR, and so on. We're pushing out people to go and kill when they are protesting this and that, blah, 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 blah. I was on YouTube a few days back. I saw some IPOB videos. I think the IPOB people were massing to go to one state. The police and army, they blocked the road. And Nnamdi Kanu got down from his vehicle majestically. He was marching, he was moving forward. The police and the army, they gave way. He and his people, they went out there. Because the army and the police, they've not even been using that video properly. So if you say because they just mass themselves somewhere and then the army starts shooting, you understand? For God's sake, like you said, there are lies here and there are lies there. Why is it that he was not killed in that? Because he was in front and they gave way. as the people were
So
coming.
what about the
Okay,
issues?
so-
You understand?
What
So-
about the issues?
I think we don't.
The
We don't.
issue is another
we don't-
discussion.
It's not
completely.
a
That's
topic.
the-
It's
that's
not
the
a
unfortunate
topic.
thing.
You
You are
gave him
trying
chance.
to
You gave him a
push the
chance
issue
to round
away.
up. I think just to
And
give us
that
a
is
chance
not
to also
fair.
round
It's
up.
not a,
Yes,
it's not a
yes,
topic
yes,
we can
yes.
exhaust today.
No, but at
It's a
least
running,
we-
it's a running
we need
issue.
to make our
Yes,
closing
it's-
Two wrongs don't make it right. Two wrongs don't make it right.
All right. Your
I
closing?
think, yeah, I think, not that I think, two wrongs don't make it right. I think that Mr. President and his team showed absolute lack of tact in the way the IPOB matter is being handled. I also think that,
Point taken.
okay.
I will tell you what, go and read what Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, wrote, where he said, when two wrongs make it right. Please just go and read it. Mr. Femi Falana is not an Igbo man. He's a Yoruba man. Go and read it and see the points he marshaled there. Very simple. Easy to respond to this thing without killing anybody.
All right.
Simple.
After this break, Alassane makes a U-turn, apologizes for statements on President Buhari. You want to stay with us? We'll be right back after this timeout. Even when we went for the break, it was still very, very hot. You can feel the heat in the studio. So if you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. Now, an American journalist, Doug Larson, famously said, instead of giving a politician the keys to the city, it might be better to change the locks. This is exactly the situation playing out in Nigeria's political landscape. Today, last week, the Minister of Women Affairs, Aisha Juma Alassane, publicly pledged her support and loyalty to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and dear boss, President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, that should seek re-election in 2019. Now, she would rather support Atiku and not him. After a few days, the All Progressive Congress summoned her to a meeting, and today the reading has changed. The party says she has apologized for what it called her indiscretion. But is the story, what is the real story here? Did Alassane sort her out of bed to make that initial statement? Who is deceiving whom? Here. Gentlemen, number one clarification. Alassane did not come out from that meeting to say, I am sorry.
It's part.
It was Malam Bolaji Abdullahi that came out. Alassane did not make any comments.
She's a member of the party now. So
We'll get there.
It was Malam Bolaji Abdullahi that came out to say she actually apologized. Yes. Now, the first part of it is that it was a Salah day when she went to go and pay homage to Atiku Abubakar, and you know that was when the first story came out. And she came out the next day on the BBC interview, and she stood by that story. And to me, I don't think this woman, Aisha Alassane, I don't think she will recant easily.
No, I don't think there's any big deal in the apology. You can always apologize when it comes to politics, but that doesn't. That doesn't change.
That's just anything.
It's like, I mean, it's like prostrating for a dwarf now. That will not change the decision.
You're right.
You can prostrate for a dwarf.
She has said her mind.
Of course, now she has taken her position.
As a politician,
This one
don't
is
take note of that.
it's politics now. It's all politics now.
Simple.
You can prostrate for a dwarf. I mean, you should understand that. But it doesn't change what you want to do. My brother, no verse, I beg. But meanwhile, you're still going to...
Because if the content of the meeting had been, oh, do you know you embarrassed Mr. President with that your statement, a sitting president? You know you embarrassed
but then...
wait, I didn't intend to do that, but I am sorry.
But then, Ayo, see, there is a dangerous area we're going into here. Because he spoke about institutions the other time. She's entitled to her opinion 100%. You don't shut her down. Absolutely. Because that's what Dora Akinyele did under Jonathan, under Yar'Adua too. Yeah, that's true. When people don't want Yar'Adua to, because Yar'Adua did not transmit any letter to the National Assembly. And the lady felt, look, this man is sick now, it's not there. The power should immediately be transferred to the Vice President. And they were, you have to be loyal. You can't be loyal to the President, for God's sake. You are loyal to the office, not the person. And meanwhile, you have freedom of choice, despite the fact that you are serving under him. It is not Buhari per se you are serving. You are serving the office of the Nigeria. A serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
She's not a personal staff of Mr. President. She took an oath not to Muhammadu Buhari. She took an oath to serve the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
She was handpicked.
No matter how you are handpicked.
Confirmed by National Assembly.
It was at the mercy of Mr. President.
Don't let us mess up this democracy. It's like, don't let us mess up this. Don't let us mess up this democracy. The presidency is not a limited liability company. It's not a sole proprietorship. The presidency belongs to the Nigerian people. Yeah. Whoever is there is a tenant. Yes. Any minister, they belong to Nigeria. They are serving the Nigerian people, not the person. If Buhari dies today, doesn't mean Nigeria is going to drop dead. No. Correct. Don't let us mess up this democracy. Yes, our democracy is young, but we're getting a lot of things wrong. She's entitled to her own position. Yeah, she's entitled to our position. Even during the election, if Buhari should emerge as president, are you going to say when she wants to vote, it is compulsory she must vote for Buhari? She must vote according to her conscience. If she feels that the person her party is presenting is wrong, then she has the right to vote for another person. It's not compulsory you vote for the person who is representing your party, no. You have the freedom of choice.
But
we're not in a dictatorship.
The context, the timing, you're still serving. Wait, Wale. The timing. Yeah. Because we expect that, okay, governance is still on, and you're still serving this administration. And a lot of people were of the opinion that before you could make that statement, it would have been better if the next day or before that day, you had said, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity you've given to me. But because I want to go and serve my master, and election time 2019 is coming, please let me go and concentrate fully in campaigning for Atiku Abubakar. What do you feel?
I think that the way politicians reason is not the way you and I reason. You will think that 2019 is 2 years away. No. For the average politician, especially within our clients, they think that 2019 is just 2 weeks, probably a week away, and that you need a lot of time to strategize. So in terms of timing, in terms of context, I think that what was running through Aisha's mind is that, look, this is the time to make a move and declare my stand on where next I want to take my political battles to. And that's exactly what she did. For me, the reaction of APC, I consider a very, a desperate move to put up appearance of all is well within our party. I think that's what they did. So for Al Hassan, what she's done is basically to say, okay, if you want me to say sorry, I'll say sorry, but it doesn't change anything. And I share that belief that she did it for the sake of doing it, and until she comes up publicly, even if she does, it's not going to change my perception of her rationale for doing what she did. It's clear, like you admitted. She said it 2 days after. She repeated what her position was, and so it should be very clear. But we must understand that politicians see citizens as pawns in the political chess game. So for the political party, APC, it's good to say, look, our house in order. The lady who is perceived to have done the wrong thing is here with us and has apologized. So it's one happy family. But you and I know that it's not one happy family. One thing that we must admit is that APC is made up of almost 4 different camps.
If not more.
If not more. Al Hassan has declared a camp. We know where the others stand. We don't want to begin to mention names here. But it's very clear that APC is just an aggregation of 3, 4 different parties that came together and said, and they all have continued to hold their respective positions, even within that coalition. So it should be very clear. So for Aisha, as far as I'm concerned, it's all grandstanding. Let me tell them what they want to hear. But I know that at the back of her mind, she's decided on where she's headed. And that's that her loyalty to Atiku Abubakar is not in doubt. And Atiku Abubakar has made it very clear by his body language that he's interested in 2019. And so, for those who want to seek political power and grab in 2019, 2 years, the way you see it is not the way they see it. 2 years is probably just next week.
So, what's the real story there now?
Yeah, just like my colleagues have said, I totally agree what they have said. But let's not forget something here. You know, this woman fought a bitter battle, you know, for the Taraba State governorship. And she may be feeling that her party did not support her the way they were supposed to support her. There was a visit by General Danjuma to President Buhari within that period. Now, there was this perception that it sort of made, after the visit, APC sort of, you know, losing its backing for the woman. I'm coming. I'm talking about backing for our governorship ambition. You understand? We're talking about politicians here. You know, yes, she took the ministerial position, quite all right. But you see, I feel that maybe that's the way the entire governorship thing went. You know, she didn't really feel happy about it. That's one side of it. But the other side of it is that, of course, she has come out to say clearly, this is the person who has really backed me. This is the person who has brought me up, like my mentor, you know, like my godfather, somebody I look up to. And I will stand by him. To me, that is principle. She's principled. She's not pretending about it. Like there are many people around Mr. President who are just pretending, just because of the situation right now. They just want to be identified with him. They can even abuse anybody, but at the end of the day, by night, they'll go back to those same people and play their game and prostrate and say, don't worry, you know the circumstances in which I found myself. You know, but if somebody has come out to state where she is, I believe what APC needs to do, you know, politics is about dialogue, it's about consultation. You know, they need to like woo her, win her over, not try to demonize her like some members of the party have been trying to do, make her look bad, as if it's not politics. We're not talking about priests in a seminary. We're talking about politics. So, in politics, it's about interest. It's not about whether you are white or black, you know, or tall or short. It's about interest. So the best thing is that if APC knows that the woman will be pivotal to winning 2019, winning Taraba in 2019, displacing Darius Ishaku, Governor Ishaku in 2019, and putting an APC governor there, and then also winning the presidential in Taraba, then they should woo her. They should woo her. And Atiku should also not be demonized. He's a member of APC. You see Dr. Ojiuzo Kalu some days ago, he said that APC should try to reconcile its members.
Okay, I have Prince calling from Abia State. Thank you for joining us, Prince.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening, Prince.
Please, I want to comment on the issue of IPOB.
I know you go back there.
Back.
All right.
Now, I am in Aba currently. I am disagreeing with my brother there, Emeka. The issue of IPOB. Now, let me tell Emeka one thing. In Aba, in Area Market, currently, the people that are taking for Biafra are the same people going to people's shops, stealing properties. When they broke those shops and steal, the same people of IPOB, then they will now raise alarm that the Hausa people, they are killing Igbos. You see problem. So, Nnamdi Kanu, what is it agitating for? One, tomorrow you will see, he said, I need the republic. The next day you will see him talking of restructuring. The next day you will hear him saying, there will be no election in Anambra State. The video you are showing that is one of the, that is the video. He went to one of the senator's house in Abia State. See Clement, okay, tomorrow he said there will be election. You know, confusing people. And these young men are unemployed youth. Okay, I thought they belong to somewhere. When you will see them shouting, how many people are they will kill? When they start shooting, you see them dying. So I feel that you help us tell our brothers, our young brothers, to cool down. Let us know. And the one thing that we don't respect our leader, when he said who are the National Assembly members, we are the people that elect them. If we have problem, we need to channel our problem to them. That's my contribution, sir. So
Thank you, Prince. We don't have to go back to that. You don't have to react to that.
No problem.
Let's just
no problem.
Okay, you were talking
so like
about
I was talking about Atiku Abubakar. You know, I was talking about Dr. Ojiuzo Kalu some days ago. He said APC should woo his members, that there shouldn't be the idea that you are demonizing members. You know, if there are people who are aggrieved, you should reach out to them. Don't behave like PDP, what PDP did in the past. You know, made it look like dissent or dissenting or disagreeing with the party, is akin to rebellion. It's all about interest, it's all about politics.
Wale?
So I just marked out something. I'm talking about the real story here. To me, the real story has little or nothing to do with Al-Hassan. The real story is that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has come out publicly now, instead of all this underground, to declare his intention to run for office. He's not done that physically, because, I mean, he's been giving lectures here and there, going to some events here and there, and stories have been reported.
A convert of restructuring.
Yeah. No, well, everybody's a convert. Paul was Saul.
Atiku has been going around in the last 2 years.
I think so far, he remains the only major northern leader who is a serious advocate of in the country now. No. IBB. Which IBB?
General Babangida.
No, he's not in any party now. I'm talking about somebody.
Okay.
I'm talking about somebody who wants to run for election.
Okay.
You know, when you are going for election now, you have to attach yourself to popular emotion, either in one part or the other. Things that people will believe that, I mean, you support, and from there you gain support. That's what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is the real story here is the fact that Atiku Abubakar is coming out, no matter what happens at the presidency level. Because initially,
so maybe if the president is contesting or not.
No, before it was like, maybe Buhari will come, or maybe Buhari will not contest. Maybe he will come, maybe he will not contest. If he contests, that means he can. But now it's like, whether he contests or not, even if he's going to contest, Atiku is going to contest as well. So that is the real story. That is the real story. To me, that's the real story.
Sam, quickly.
Yeah, I share his thoughts on what the real story is. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has made his intention very clear, using Aisha, as a handle to it. I think we should look forward to.
She amplified the announcement very well.
We wanted us to come out and also begin to hold their position and share their views.
Simple. You just said you took the words out of my mouth. Yes, she has blown the trumpet. Was it Chino Achebe that said, when you see a bird dancing in the middle of the road, somebody is drumming for it. Somebody is inside the bush drumming for it. So that sums it up.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Emeka. Emeka was so passionate about our first topic. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Emeka. I wish you a lovely weekend.
Thank you.
And thank God it's Friday, Sam.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for coming on. And
it's Friday?
Yeah, today's Friday.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday.
Wale Adedayo, thank you so much for contributing to today's program. That is where we drop an anchor for this week's edition of Journalist Hangout. Join us for interesting episode of the program that is next week. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight on DSTV 418, GoTV 45, and all our platforms that we have. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozuba. Have a lovely weekend ahead. See you Monday.